We need to talk. Seriously, one of the best ways to understand your users is to talk to them. This video is a crash course on user interviews. We'll talk about what a user interview even is, how to conduct one really well, and what are the kinds of questions you should be asking. What is a user interview? A user interview involves talking to your customers or users to gather qualitative information about their behaviors, needs, and preferences. Why is it useful, you ask? It's the fastest way to gather deep information and insights about your users. To answer the question, why? Why is this their biggest problem? Why do they or don't they use your product? Why don't they love me? Also, when you talk to people, you build empathy towards them. Empathy helps you get inside a person's head, figuratively most of the time. And when you're building a product or service for them, you're able to make better decisions with that context in mind. Now, if you're new to user interviews, you may face one of two roadblocks: finding people to speak to, and the second is figuring out what you want to ask them. Let's walk through how to solve both of those roadblocks. Finding people to interview. The most important tip, don't ask your roommate Jason unless Jason is the actual user you're building your product or service for. The same applies for others who may be easy to interview. Don't go for the easiest participant, find the right one. Whether your product has 0 users or tons of them, you're going to have to find what is called a sample, a group of people who represent the ideal users you have in mind. Start by listing the set of criteria people must meet in order to be included in your interviews. Is it their age, where they're from, education, experience with similar products? Once you have these criteria, you should start recruiting people who match them. If you already have users or customers, try to find the relevant people from that group to interview. It can be hard to get people to respond, so I'm linking in the description below an article to help you recruit those users for research. If you don't have users who meet your needs, you can also use a service like userinterviews.com. Up next, what do you ask these people? The questions. User researchers usually create a list of questions they want to ask their participants. You don't always have to ask every question exactly, but it's useful to have a map so that you aren't wasting anyone's time. Think of your interview as a 3-act process. At the start of the interview, your participant will probably be awkward. You're asking them about their app usage. Obviously, it's awkward. Asking important questions upfront will give you unsatisfactory results. You need to break the ice first. Start out with simple rapport building questions. Like, who are they? What do they do for work? Once your participant is comfortable, you can move on to the main body of your interview. To create a guide for this section, first write out the broad topics that you want to gather data on. For example, if you're running user interviews for a travel app, you may want to ask questions on the types of travel people do, their budgets, concerns with travel. Once you have the broad topics in place, you'll need to start filling in the specific questions you want to guide your interview. For example, if you are gathering data for a travel app, you may want to ask questions like, how many trips did you take in the last 12 months? Where did you end up going? Why did you go on these trips? These questions are not set in stone, so you should try to go where the conversation takes you. When framing these questions, though, there are some things you want to keep in mind. Number 1, avoid asking questions about hypothetical situations. How would you react if Google leaked your data? Isn't particularly helpful because people aren't great at predicting the future. However, if you ask, how did you feel when Facebook leaked your data? That's really useful. You can rely on users' past behavior to understand how they would react. Number 2, avoid close-ended questions. Do Instagram notifications annoy you? That is a bad question for many reasons, but one of the big ones is that the answer would be a simple yes or no. That's a close-ended question. You want your users to speak a lot, so you may want to phrase that question as, what do you think of notifications on Instagram? Number 3, avoid leading questions. How bad do you feel about not being subscribed to Loop Panel's YouTube channel? That's a bad question because it assumes that users already feel bad for not being subscribed. A better question would be, how does it feel to not be subscribed to Loop Panel's YouTube channel? I'm also going to link a question bank in the description below that you can use to pull out specific questions based on your use case and activities. Don't worry about your questions being too perfect when you start. They'll get better as you conduct more and more user interviews. Subscribe for more videos and live streams on UX. Until next time, with love, Team Loop Panel.